Hello, my name's Hayonic, and this is the first video in a new series I'm making called An Honest Review. In this series, I'll be looking at a tank, comparing it to other tanks with similar roles at its tier, and deciding whether or not it's actually worth playing. This video isn't exactly meant for people that are just starting out in the game, but more so people that have basic knowledge of the game and tank statistics. I really hope by the end of this video you will consider actually going down the Chinese light tank line, because I think this is a really underrated line in the game. And now let's get into the video. Before I show any more gameplay of the tank, I would like to take a moment to compare the tank to other Tech Tree Tier 9 light tanks and see how it fares. To make it even more fair, I am doing no equipment and no provisions on any of these tanks. The Batchat and the T92 are a lot different in terms of their guns compared to these three light tanks, so for the firepower section, I will be removing these two tanks. Starting off in firepower, you can see that out of these three light tanks, it actually has the most DPM. Its penetration is bad at 227. Better than the Object 84, but worse than the Vickers Cruiser. Its alpha damage is 330, which, I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't feel lackluster. I find myself doing significant amount of damage when I can. Meanwhile, the Object 84's is 310, but it definitely doesn't hit as hard as the Vickers Cruiser. Its rate of fire and reload is in the middle of the pack at 7.7 seconds, meanwhile the Object 84's is at 7.5, and the Vickers is at 8.3. Both the WZ and the Object have a gun caliber of 100mm, and the Vickers Cruiser has 105. It has good shell velocity at 1026, while the Object 84's is slightly worse, but it does not match up to the Vickers Cruiser. But the Vickers Cruiser does have APCR as its standard round. I won't be comparing all the different shell types because that would take too long, and I want this section to be somewhat quick. Now, moving down to weapon handling, with the Batchat and the T92 added in, we can see that its gun handling is really lackluster. It has one of the worst dispersions other than the T92, but the T92 has this derpy little shotgun, so we don't really count it. Its dispersion when moving is horrible, and it gets 5 degrees of gun depression, which is pretty bad. It's the same as the Object 84, but the Object 84 has something better going for it, and I'll get into that a little bit later. There is one thing to note though, it does have the best aim time out of all these tanks, meaning that if you actually stop and aim your shot, you're going to aim relatively quickly in this tank. Moving down to the movement and mobility of this tank, you can see that it's roughly the same and on par with the other Tier 9 light tanks. All of them have a max speed of 65 kilometers per hour, 810 engine power. It has really good power to weight ratio, slightly worse than the T92, and its effective horsepower on all terrain is actually pretty good. I don't find myself slowing down on pretty much any terrain. It also has decent camo, the same as the Vickers Cruiser, at 24% while still and moving, and camo after shooting is 5%. Moving down to the extras here, we can see that it has a base view range of 260, slightly worse than the Vickers Cruiser, but on par with all the other Tier 9 light tanks. It has an HP pool of 1600 hit points, which is better than the Vickers Cruiser and the T92, and on par with the Object and the Batchat. However, something you probably noticed is its armor is horrendous. I am constantly getting penned by HE shells, when in these other tanks they might actually splash them. While it's not as bad as the T92s and the Batchats, they kind of have that shotgun potential with the autoloader and also the derp gun. So their armor being low isn't actually that bad. Now this is where this tank gets weird. If you go to the Blitz Stars data in the past 90 days, we can see that other than win rate, KDR, average spots, and survival rate, the Batchat has worse of that. We can see that this is the worst performing light tank in the game. I think it's a very, very effective tank. I've played some of these other tanks like the Batchat and the Object 84, and I like them and they're alright tanks, but this so far has been my favorite tank, and I really think it just boils down to there's not enough players, and that's why the stats on it are so bad. Now, if you take a look at my account, you'll actually find that my most played nation is actually China. Ignore all the German battles, okay? So I'm going to try and remain as unbiased as possible for this video, because I really do love the Chinese tanks. But I'll be honest, I really don't know why this tank isn't played that much. I had a talk with some people around some Discord servers, and it could just be that the tier 10 isn't super duper sought out for, like the T100 LT and the Sheridan, or even the Vickers for that matter. This tank is just in a bad position right now because the tier 10 tank is not in a good state. Now, this video actually comes out before all the tier 10 changes, and if you don't know about that, they're actually going to buff the tier 10 tank and make it slightly better by giving it 30 extra damage, 20 extra damage with its rounds, and I believe it's also getting extra penetration. Now, talking about this tank's stats a little bit more, the gun, it is a little troll, I'm not gonna lie. You are certainly going to miss shots where if you were playing any other tank, they would have hit. And do not get me started on this tank's gun depression. Yes, the Object 84 has the same amount of gun depression, but what the Object 84 has that the WZ doesn't is the absolute troll armor that will just randomly bounce shots. I've also seen some people complain about the mobility of this tank, but I will be honest, it's really not that bad. It feels fine. It feels like a tier 9 light tank. I think if more people played this tank, it would perform a lot better. And I really do hope that happens, because the next update, it really does seem like the tier 10 Chinese light is going to be a formidable tank to play and fight. But that's enough talking about this tank. Let's get into the mastery game that I actually have lined up. So moving on to the mastery game here, how I originally planned on doing this content was I would record myself playing the games live, and I would ramble while I played the game, because I'm pretty good at multitasking when it comes to talking about stats and playing the game at the exact same time. But instead, while I was farming for those clips, I actually got this really good mastery game, and so I'm just gonna slightly talk over it while you guys watch it, and I'm gonna just point out some key features in this game which I truly think helped me win the game. So we're gonna put a shot towards the standard B, bounce off of its rear for some reason, but it's okay. This standard B kind of misplayed pushing into us. I'm now going to push this WZ-111, he misses, and I'm gonna put one shot into his lower plate and then back up to see if I can help my team here. I do notice the T100 LT in the back, but I want to try my best to support the Sheridan and the STB from this E50. Put a shot towards the E50, and then I'm backing up again. I now see that the T100 LT is peeking out, put a shot towards him. Of course he gets a shot on me, but that's okay. Now I'm just gonna sit here and wait a minute, wait for them to move up, because I can't do a lot here with 5 degrees of gun depression. So my best bet is to wait for them to push up. I do see that their team is being really aggressive, so I can afford that. So this IS-7 starts pushing up and put a quick shell into his drive wheel, tracks him, but he repairs it and now he's backing out. I do notice the K91 in the back, but I sadly ricochet off the IS-7's lower plate. So I'm trying my best to help this VK who came to help me and blows up very fast. And I noticed that this E50 is pushing up behind the IS-7, so I shut him down before the IS-7 can get another shot onto me. I'm gonna pull over this ridge for a second, get one more shot into his lower plate, and then he misses. So I'm going to help my teammate here, the 50 TP. Now I want you to pay attention here. So I know that my 50 TP friend is low, so I'm currently driving in front of the T100 LT to block his shots so that my teammate can survive and help me deal with him. There's another block shot from the T100, get one more shot into him, but the IS-7 sadly goes for the 50 TP, and I'm pretty sure shuts him down. I shut down the T100 LT, and now my team is in a pretty good spot, I would say. Currently, we have an IS-7 that is a roughly half health, and then the K91, which is right there, also at half health. So I decided to go back, regroup with my team, and help take out this IS-7. They get one shot into the IS-7, dealing 400 damage. I don't want to take any more damage right here just in case. Shot into the lower plate of the IS-7, and I don't know why I did a little spin right there. The IS-7 looks at me, but I'm not stupid. I'm gonna wait a minute before I peek, and one more shot into him to shut him down, and now we just have the K91 left. And I'll be honest, I don't really know what this guy was thinking this game. He was nowhere to be found when his team needed him. And now I'm going to push with my two teammates and then just quickly shut him down, get the game over with. And that is the mastery aim in the WZ-132A. Finishing the game off with 4,623 damage, no high caliber, but still a pretty good game in my opinion. I think this tank is an amazing tank, and I really hope with the next update where they actually plan on buffing the Chinese tier 10 light, I really do think more people should play this tank and give it a shot. This is my first video in this little series I'm making, so it's not perfect yet, but over time I hope to slowly improve the quality of these videos. But other than that, I have nothing more to say. I really do recommend going down the Chinese light tank line. This is an amazing tank to play and also a very fun tank to play. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you tune in to my next video.